you're gonna get to 4 pretty quick, and you've already put a 1. You already put a 4 in front of the first Left 4 Dead. Like, y'all bitches better have a fucking plan how you're gonna do this whole day, because y'all know the 4 is already in there.
You gotta do something clever for it. You gotta do something clever for it.
You call it 4 for 4?
Right.
You'd be like, yeah.
Just call it 4? Like, what are y'all gonna do?
L4D4.
And that's probably the closest we'll get to it.
Time to play some Left Dead 4. All
the fanboys are gonna call it 44. I'll make them 44. God. Damn, bitch.
But yes, Left 4 Dead 3.
Time to play Left 4 Square Dead.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Fox.
2 digits.
That's 1 of them, and then 2 of them.
And then 3 of them.
1 of them, 2 of them, 3 of them.
Oh, goddamn.
Sean DePaul.
It was the song.
All Sean Paul songs.
Exactly. Anywho.
Back to things about games. Yeah, you guys play a new Sean Paul game?
Oh, yeah. With the 1 of them, 2 of them, 3 of them.
It was a counting game for Connect.
Like the game.
The little Jamaican kids couldn't play because they couldn't hear what they were saying. They couldn't compute what they were saying. Intrigue! Oh, you mean?
Like, yeah, did you hear the new Sean Paul track's going to be on the next Rock Band?
Yes.
You can only do the vocals on expert difficulty.
Anyways, we have a fantastic show lined up for you here today. Before we get too far off track with Sean Paul, first, well, I mean, we can never get too far off track with Sean Paul, but first of all, we like to go over the fact that Sega has come up with some news that they may be buying Atlus.
Yes.
Is this true?
Sega is in financial position to buy Atlus. They were bidding on them, and now they're at a point where a lot of analysts are saying that they're possibly going to purchase them in like the next 10 days or something, or like the deal's going to go through. I think it's very likely that Sega's actually going to purchase them based on they got the money to. They've been purchasing teams. They bought Relic from THQ, and THQ went over. They bought them. So Sega's been making a lot of power play moves and a lot of really smart moves, I'll say, the last couple of years. And I really think they're going to buy Atlus, and I actually think it might be best that they be the one to buy it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think out of most companies nowadays, like Atlus is one of the very few that I'm still extremely confident in, you know?
If you look at it, know, if you see a game that's made by Atlus, you're like, I almost feel like I don't even have to watch this trailer.
Exactly.
I feel like I have the confidence to buy it.
Even the new Dragon Crown game that just came out recently, I really want to play that game.
And to be honest, just so everyone's clear, it's the parent company that owns Atlus that went under, not Atlus themselves. So it's I don't think it had anything to do with the...
No.
Their games sell, I mean...
I think it just had to do with the parent company weren't making the right financial decisions. If there's one thing I've noticed from Sega these last generation or so, is that they've recently been making a lot of the best financial decisions. Let's say like Valkyrie Chronicles or something.
Mm-hmm.
Making it, and then even though people don't really like hearing things come in limited run, they're making it for the audience that they know will purchase the game.
Right.
So if you look at the Yakuza series, this series looks absolutely gorgeous in terms of graphics. It looks really, really good. But then you get something like Valkyrie Chronicles and it's cel shaded. So it's like, look, we're not pumping that many resources into this because we know the game may not sell. So they're being very realistic into the titles that they're selling. Even games that like Vanquish or Bayonetta, to take the risk to have both of those IPs come out as new IPs just based on the directors behind them was a big deal for Sega. So them doing any of Platinum's games is like showing you that they not only care for game design, they still care about development in the East. And they're still willing to take a risk on a new IP, even knowing that it's for a niche audience. So it's like knowing that they're not trying to go for the, like Squaresoft. Squaresoft's always trying to go for mega bucks right now. And it's like knowing that they're not putting themselves in that area where they have to sell a game to sell 5 million units or something crazy like that. They're not putting themselves in that area. They're making realistic decisions based on what the game might really sell. That's a great thing because that means we're still going to be able to get the games that we want without them getting like shafted or turned into like Call of Duty wannabes just to get the sales. They kind of know where their boundaries lie in sales. So hopefully them owning more companies like in the East and West will allow them to not really feel that type of constraint like other publishers have.
No, I definitely feel you. I mean, there's really not a crazy amount to say besides that, you know, obviously Atlus isn't a company that we want to go away.
Yeah, they've been doing fairly well for themselves. I don't know, what's the last Atlus game that you played?
The last Atlus game that I played was, unfortunately, it was probably Persona 4, even though how long ago that game has come out.
For me, it was Catherine.
Oh, Catherine. I actually own that game, but I still haven't even beaten that game.
I don't know if these numbers still stand, but I do recall that Catherine was actually their biggest launch.
Yeah,
it shipped.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It was actually it shipped like I just looked it up. It was like 200,000 units in the first week.
And for a game so unorthodox, you know, like
yeah, exactly. It's a puzzle game.
Exactly.
Puzzle Quest. I'm just saying, Puzzle Quest was a successful game, guys.
That's true, but still, like, but you have to look at the puzzle genre as a whole. Like, how many puzzle games truly make it to that standard?
I would sit down and because I am the Puzzle Quest, I am the nerd that plays these games.
He is a big numerous fan too.
He'd be like, I am the Puzzle Quest. First off, little nigga, I am the Puzzle Quest. No, but like I play a lot of Lumines. Anything. I think his name's Tatsuya Mizugaki, the guy who did Fez. Not Fez, excuse me.
Fez,
not Fez. Excuse me. Wrong one. Wrong one. He did Rez. Excuse me. See, okay.
See how that worked out. See how that happened.
Oh gosh, damn it! I'm
sorry. But he's done Rez, he's done Lumines, he's done so many really. He did Space Channel 5, so he's done really good puzzle games. Puzzle games with me and Lumines and even like older games for PSP like Gunpei. There's a lot of weird puzzle games that fairly do moderately well. It's a game where you just put down, do your little puzzle things, have a nice beat behind it, and you could add a lot of creativity to it. But what they did with Catherine was, in my opinion, very much in the same vein as something like Puzzle Quest, where you take that simple understanding, add something a little more complex to it, and you have this opening for more people to come in. Now think about the success of Portal. Portal's success is garnered off of that idea that here's a little puzzle thing, it's easy for anybody to get in, but there's like complex layer on top.
That's a good point. Like I was going to bring up the point of how Catherine did that, but then bringing up Portal is a good point.
Puzzle games like Portal, Catherine, they're all about progression. You slowly introduce elements into the game.
Mm-hmm. It's
not like you just throw all these complicated rules at somebody and they figure it out. No, you always have like this fantastic, like it's all about pacing.
I mean, I guess puzzle games too just also like kind of harken back to like what games kind of are. Like just like the very like basic understanding of games in general is just like you have this problem, you have this limited amount of resources to get through it. That's actually it's like very basic. It's like thinking like back in days of like chess. It's like you have this many pieces that move this sort of way.
It's a fantastic point. Like Portal, like you have this instance like what I was saying. Like they introduced these very simple puzzles in the beginning of the game, and they slowly build off the concepts they've already introduced. It is actually the very epitome of what gaming is and should be like, in my opinion. Like nothing is really explained to you, but through good and fluid design, things are organically introduced.
And I guess I mean,
and that's actually where the reward comes in, because you're playing Portal and you figure something out like, oh, this is like that.
Yeah, I did it.
In level like 3 or whatever. Now I got this shit.
The whole
and I guess things like that just are kind of intuitive to our nature, because apparently, like you just said, like it's just games that we just accept. Like puzzle games are just always going to be there for some reason. We can make a bad shooter and be like, oh man, fucking Call of Duty, but like a puzzle game is just like, it's a puzzle game. It's just what it is. You accept it or you don't.
I don't think it was just that helped the sales.
No, I think there are bad puzzle games.
I think it was the narrative and the esoteric nature of the game that probably ended up getting the sales.
See, the thing is, I'm not sure. I'm not too sure though, because that game is really Japanese.
But I feel it is so Japanese that people want to explore and see.
Hold on.
I feel certain games that really go strongly into the Japanese nature do really well in the West. There are certain games that really do well.
At least me, when I was saying the things that I was saying, I was speaking to the puzzle genre in general and the benefits of that kind of game, the strong suits.
Right.
Now, for Catherine, I agree with Edwin here that the game is so Japanese that people are like, what's that?
I don't know though. I feel like the recent trend how like people like see games is not like getting that intense into like someone's like the way we understand like relationships and things like that. To me, it's almost like maybe I guess I'm underestimating people here, and the fact that like they don't want to explore. Like if I'm watching something, I feel like the general consensus is like I'm watching something. People, if he does something that I'm not expecting, it's just like, oh, why the fuck is he doing that? It's like that makes no sense. So like in a Japanese sense, like they'll handle things a lot differently than they would in the West. So it's like for something so grounded as like this man is in a relationship and he's cheating on his girlfriend, it's like you have to follow a certain sort of rule set, or else it's just you're gonna have a total disconnect there. So being Japanese and following that sort of story arc is like you have to be really careful in the lines that you tread, or else you're just gonna lose like a good majority of your audience.
Yeah, but
from like a cultural standpoint.
Like from a cultural standpoint, it's so like how he reacts to the certain situations is gonna be completely different. So some it's just bizarre.
I agree,
and like it might like turn people off in a sense.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. But it's like the only thing that you could take from that is somebody who might have initially purchased the game might have got that halfway through the game.
Yeah.
But everybody who initially purchased this game found something they wanted out of this game,
I'll
whether it be puzzle or whether it be that the narrative.
I'll tell you what it was. I'll tell you why the reason that game sold. Okay, well, one. First of all, it's a gorgeously animated game. I think it looks fantastic.
Oh, yeah, me too. No, I fucking love it.
Not just in-game, but the cutscenes as well that are fully animated. They look fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The voice acting is bar none. It is fantastic. It's fucking incredible.
I mean, I just want to go ahead and put a stamp on Atlus, because no matter what freaking game comes out, their voice acting is always on point. Voice acting is always Persona 3, Persona 4, like I can't tell you how much I connected with the characters just because of the way they interacted with one another and how they spoke to one another. It was just freaking the writing, the voice acting behind it, genius. Yeah.
Always. The only thing I didn't like about it that I could even take away from it was there wasn't enough of it. That's
exactly.
That's a technical.
That was like one of those games that I didn't want to beat because it was one of those things where I could go home and look forward to playing. I'm like, yeah.
I get to get a little bit further.
That was another thing. So like the voice acting is fantastic, but the thing is, what pushes that voice acting even further is the fact that the writing for the characters is also great. Each character that you interact with, like your friends at the Stray Street Bar, they each have their own very distinct personalities, and they intermingle very well. And like it's very believable. It really is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about that because, like I said, I haven't really played much of it. No, okay. But like, I can only make the comparison to other Atlus games.
Look at it this way, and because you
I do own it. I do just need to finish it though.
Because Akash likes a lot of things about this game, and you have a lot of opinions about what you think the game, may, be. I just feel like there's
certain things that just didn't feel like it wouldn't connect to a lot of people. Even though I'm not saying the game's fantastic. Obviously, the game is awesome. I played the little bit that I played of it, I'm just like, I need to finish this game. But it's just, I feel like, me being me, that's why I like it. But me understanding, like, the general populace of, like, gamers in general, I feel like it just seemed like they wouldn't get it,
Because the point I was trying to make, if I could get into the marketing mode, is what initially made you buy the game? Because anybody who's interested in Catherine, like myself, I'm interested in what I've seen with the puzzle stuff, but I saw the production style of it, but that production style didn't make me start forking over money. So it's like, it's not saying that it's bad, but I didn't see enough of it to say, let me give you $60. Okay, There's a lot of good looking. Okay, let me.
I see where you're going with this.
I'm gonna make an example here. I think it's called Project Connect. The people who did the Naruto game. That was one of the best CG looking games I've ever seen. In terms of cell shading. It's an amazing looking game. But I don't own it, but I appreciate how well it was made. Now, what I want to know from Craig is
CyberConnect.
Yeah, CyberConnect. Sorry.
Why don't we each just go around and say?
Yeah, because I was going to say because I don't own the game, so I want to know because you've already played it, but Craig has barely played it. So you've already played it, and you know why you like it.
Every single standpoint.
Yes, and the reason why I'm saying this is because you need to take it from the standpoint of these numbers.
I'll let you know why I bought it before I liked it.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what makes
same thing here.
Going with this, I will get into it if I don't go.
If mine's completely different, I'll mention mine too.
When I saw the game, mind you, I'm going to tell you, I've not played a lot of Atlus games. I know the reputation, and quite frankly, it's a company that I actually have a profound amount of respect for. I know that I'll like their games, to the point to where I'm not even in a rush to play them, because they'll be there, and I feel like they'll be timeless to me. So, the thing is, what brought me to Catherine is that, one, it's made by Atlus, a company that I know you really enjoy, and I trust your opinion on RPGs and the like. So I know for a fact this company already has good standing with you. So I take that, without a grain of salt. I actually.
Right.
So there's that. One was the production style, like I was talking about. That actually drew me to it. I do like games that have the anime look, but not to the point to where they're done like chibi style or whatever. Now, yeah, it can't be like overly cutesy. It looked very like dark and like it had like a dark humor sense to it. Now, the biggest point is actually the most obvious one. The marketing was phenomenal.
It really
they did
was.
a fantastic job with the marketing. And you probably don't know this, but the entire soundtrack for the game is actually remixed classical music.
Oh, I did not know that.
I know what you're going to say.
I don't even care. I don't even know what you mean by that.
Fuck, we had that conversation on Japanese people love like classical music and shit in anime.
Yeah. Oh man.
Moonlight Sonata.
So, Kat, if you could remember, why did you make your initial purchase to this game?
My initial purchase, I mean.
Oh yeah, there was one more.
Go ahead. No, let him finish first.
There's a social sim in the game that ties in. The game has a rigid structure, and that's what I like about it. I knew it would be like that, where you spend your portion of the game, the nightmare stage, is solving puzzles, and then you have the almost an alternate reality to the point where it's actual reality, where you're in the bar thinking like, what the hell just happened? And you have to like talk to your friends. And I've always loved shit like that because it's like, it puts you in the atmosphere.
You need to fucking play the Persona games, man. But yeah, the reason why I bought it is mainly a lot of the same reasons that you bought it, because like again, like you just said, I fucking love Atlus. I have Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, Personas 3 and 4. I've loved every single one of these games.
Beat them, Craig.
I know, I need to beat Nocturne. I need to beat Nocturne and Digital Devil Saga 2. But these games were just phenomenal, and everything that they did, the writing, the characters, the world that they set it in, it always made sense. It was always true to what was happening. They're all completely different from one another, which made it so beautiful. And then I heard like, oh, cool, Atlus is making a game for the PS3. When it was first announced, I thought it was going to be Persona 5, and I was like super stoked. But it turned out it wasn't, so a little disappointed. But then as I started like researching this game, I was like, oh, cool. It had the same social simulation like they had in the Persona game, so I'm like, okay, this is going to be cool. Then I heard it was a puzzle game, kind of backed up a little bit. Yeah. But then I actually saw the puzzle game. I'm like, okay, maybe it won't be too bad. And then I heard like the sort of themes they were going after in their writing, and like how like the whole relationship setup they were going after. I'm like, okay, well, the way Atlus sets up their story, it's gonna be like, I can feel like they're really gonna tackle something here, and this whole other world is gonna mean something to the overarching story. So it's like, even though it's like a relationship sim, it's not just gonna be a relationship sim with a puzzle theme to make you play.
You know what's the funniest thing too? It's just that like everything I told you, like you could almost forget it. Because I was already sold on the game at one point. You'd be surprised how willing many people, including me, would be able to purchase a game just based off of the trailer. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm a sucker for good ass fucking trailers.
I'm just saying that.
And the fact that
opening music, man,
that the company has like a good standing, I was into it because like it's because it's so different. It looked like nothing else that it looked like a very unique game. And I was like, you don't just put out a game like this because of the demographic. This is a fucking game. Yeah, that's like a labor of love.
So can we agree that the initial sales of this game were sparked by
heavily marketed? And I can't
say heavily marketed because I haven't seen a damn commercial for this.
No, I've seen some stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff.
I would say that the commercials were done well. I can't say that it was marketed.
Yeah, what I'll give it, it's a lot of
I'll put a link up to the trailer for
it's a lot of company support. The fact that like people really do love Atlus and respect what they do. So you're gonna get that fan base, but then the fact that, like Akash was saying, the whole marketing also helped it very much.
Because you played the Persona games and you already kind of know what to expect from them, I was going to say that your purchase was also definitely motivated by you already know Atlus and you already trust that they could make a great game production-wise. They could make a great game. Also to note, I was playing Persona 4 Arena with Craig a couple days ago. And, oh my god. My goodness, I was doing good. No, I wasn't.
I kicked his ass.
But the production value of this game was absolutely sky high. There was detail everywhere that needed to be detailed.
They don't fuck it up, yo.
You could tell that they've spent a ridiculous amount of painstaking time to make these detailed, the menu, the trailer, Everything. There's everything that you could think that you could. Every small area in this game, from the option bar. It's like you go to something like the music bar, the option bar, and there is more stuff in there than anywhere else. It's absolutely amazing. So it's like they did a good job with that. You could tell that art-wise, their artists.
No,
are
for
so
sure.
good.
Every Atlus game it just seems like a labor of love in a sense. It's like there's so much attention to detail, attention to the little fine things to make it like a truly memorable experience.
Well, I mean, like, let's face it, they're that company.
Oh yeah, for
they're
sure.
That company, like. You don't just fucking look at an Atlus game and be like, oh, I don't know, there was that one fucking game that fucking...
Yeah, it wasn't that one fucking game. I mean, granted, I'm not gonna lie, there will be an Atlus game for some people who's just like, oh man, this is a little bit too funky for me. Yeah, like I ain't about that. But like, the thing is though, like even with games like that, they approach it in such a way it's just like, I don't care, but if you don't like it, just leave it alone because I'm gonna go for it.
Whoever they marketed the games to, they
always sell to that particular audience. They don't pay no expense to like they ain't trying to please everybody.
Yeah, and I would like to add that's one of the great things about the idea of a company like Sega going to purchase them. Sega being a company that wants to make a game or make an IP simply because they just want the game to release and they know clearly there's an audience that will buy it makes a lot of sense. They're not trying to compete with the big boys. They're simply trying to sit there, go at the bottom, go for where their crowd is, and then essentially attack an area that they know is vulnerable and that people want to play these types of games. So Sega, as of recent, has garnered a lot of success with these type of games. Like I said, with Bayonetta and Vanquish. If you have two games that have sold really, really well and they're brand new IPs, it's almost like them saying, we know that there's people that wanted to play Devil May Cry, and clearly that director is not there anymore. You could say it's Devil May Cry, but clearly it doesn't feel that way. So to sit there and say, well, we'll do it, you could bring your team to Sega, and we're going to make Bayonetta, is one of these type of moves to say, well, they care about the design of the game, and they trust that they can make a game so good that people will buy it, and people bought these games. And so for them for them to want to buy Atlus, I feel good, because I know that they'll fund it appropriately and have realistic expectations of what to expect from the return from the game.
It's like we were saying too, like attacking that middle ground. It's almost the best place to ever get a game from, because it's like there's enough money invested into it to make it a good game. But the thing is, they're not going crazy with a AAA studio budget where it's become too risky to actually do anything creative. You know what I mean?
Not with games like these. And I personally don't feel that there's any type of game or studio where you would have to pump so much money to make it creative. I feel that there a lot of these studios,
I mean, there are certain ambitions that you would need money to accomplish. Let's face it.
Sure, it would really.
I'm not saying you need money to make a good game.
I understand what you're trying to say. I understand what you're trying to say. It would really depend.
Look at any indie game.
What I'm saying is they're at this point to where they don't have enough money pumped into the project to where it's a huge risk to do anything even slightly off fucking. To go off the beaten path, basically.
I understand.
Imagine if Catherine was had a AAA it was a AAA game. They put a shit ton of money into it. That game would not be like that. It's not fucking Machine Gun.
It wouldn't be a puzzle game. That's for damn sure.
Pretty much. So they're pretty much they know what to do with their budget and their funding, and they know what to do to get the game off of the ground. So I'm happy that Sega is making a push to Atlus, because I can't think of another company that would do a better job.
That was actually my point. My conclusive point about Atlus was that the reason why I think that there's so much good vibes for Atlus and trust for the companies is because they make these games that are actually just almost very minimalistic in a sense compared to many other games. If you look at Catherine, it doesn't really in scale. It's not a huge game. No. It's literally just levels and one bar.
And a bar, yeah.
And then some cutscenes. And yet throughout all that, it's one of the best games I played that year.
It's true. I definitely feel you.
But that is most Atlus games. The high school.
Yeah, exactly. Both Persona games, it's the high school. You have your city segment, and then the dungeon.
That's not sort of many games. Many other RPGs are.
I don't know. I believe that creativity comes from limited resources.
Well, for sure.
I say yes and no.
That's a lot of.
I say yes and no.
I'm not saying it's
it depends on what game they're making.
Okay. Let's face it. It's more often that somebody's going to make something creative and unique because they have less money to do whatever the fuck they want. So they have to find these very creative workarounds.
It depends on the game they're making.
There's no. Let me say there's no guarantee for this. I'm not saying it as a solid statement. It's a generalization.
Like we were saying with the AAA games before.
Not saying that put like $5,000 into the game, you're gonna make a good fucking game.
Agreed. But it's like sometimes if you have size and scale, you need to make something that is of a massive scale.
But to find somebody who can helm a project like that is rare.
You're gonna need
very rare. Yeah, you need a fucking G.
You're gonna need some money because it's just too much. It's too much to make with too little men. So
you need to know exactly.
It goes down to situational based. Smaller games, I can understand that. Bigger games, hell no. There's certain stuff that has to be done with these games that even if we're not even talking about scale, if we're just talking about network,
but if you didn't have the money, you wouldn't have a game of that scale anyways.
I mean, then you would lose whatever creativity you might have garnered if the game had to do with scale. So I mean, it goes. It's a situational.
It's two ends of the spectrum.
It's a situational thing. It's like GTA. The biggest thing that comes from GTA
is the fact that it's a big budget game.
It's a size.
They have the money to do it. They have the people to utilize the money properly. Yeah, I think it's more rare to find somebody who can utilize a big budget adequately versus somebody who makes a creative little indie game or something like that. And I'm not saying that making an indie game, a good indie game, is easy. By all means, it's not. But I'm saying I feel that there's definitely less people in the world of AAA games that are making quality titles versus indie games.
I wouldn't say all that. Yeah, even though we have like AAA has like issues and
it has issues, yeah.
Even there's only a handful of AAA games that I would legitimately say.
I think that it comes down to having to accept the differences between the spectrums. When you make a AAA game, there's certain things you have to expect. You're not gonna have like something very like crazy and like unique in the sense that. Where it becomes a huge risky investment.
Metal Gear exists.
Yeah, but that's because Kojima. How many Kojimas are out there?
It depends.
Exactly.
Not even. Okay, we could say the same thing about Suda 51.
Suda 51? That motherfucker's crazy.
You could say the same thing about Shinji Mikami.
The Suda 51, I mean, I more say Shinji Mikami than Suda 51.
I would say
because Suda 51 is like, he's a good developer, but he's not like
he's done a lot of nit stuff.
Yeah,
but it's like. You could name a lot. There's a lot of Japanese developers that are out there that are really big that have done AAA
that
stuff.
Are really big. But that's not even a lot of them. There's like a handful of names out there, dude.
They've done weird stuff.
Yeah,
I can't say all that. No.
Well, it's not like they started off doing big ass games.
But yes, Sega's buying Atlus. We give it a good thumbs
what I'm
up.
saying is a generalization. They're always
We give it a thumbs up.
Sega is going to purchase Atlus. Even though that's a big maybe, a lot of analysts are saying that's
it's a pretty good thought that it probably will happen.
I think it's going to happen because I don't see any other publishers trying to jump on board and buy it based on timing.
What did you do that?
So I think they're going to purchase them.
What do you have to lose
moving on? I should kill you. moving on. Also, Sega has actually been.
I almost feel like that's like the slogan of the show. I should kill you. Oh gosh.
I should kill you. But Sega has been doing a lot of things in the PC space as of recent with Company Heroes 2 releasing. Sega has been like very much open to doing PC stuff. So I'm hoping that some of their actual games, just on the side note, you might actually get some of their games on PC.
So, Edwin, what else is coming out on PC?
And there are some other things coming out on PC. Like EverQuest Next. Apparently, Sony Online Entertainment, Tim Sweeney, came out and announced that they're making another EverQuest after like 20 years. so apparently, an EverQuest is released while we're living. In EverQuest is releasing.
That's pretty intense in and of itself. The fact, I mean, granted, we did get EverQuest 2 in our lifetime too. So I mean, but
we're kids. but it released things
exactly.
This game. A lot of new things are going to be happening with EverQuest Next. It's a bigger game in terms of like what they're doing in terms of ugliness not being in the game.
Yes, word. I mean, let's just go ahead and say it. MMOs and ugliness have had a pretty close relationship.
When you play an MMO, you expect ugly. Guild Wars 2 is the sexiest MMO I've ever seen.
That's true.
But you have to understand, like, Shit, look what it's up against. It's not up against Must. Let's be real.
It's like, yes, the next sexiest MMO is probably the Old Republic, and
if you think about if Guild Wars 2 or the Old Republic were action games, many games look ugly as fuck.
Hell yeah.
These games will look really fucking ugly. So the idea that they're making this is now new. Looks like the new standard of MMOs. The game looks like it's running off of the PlanetSide 2 engine. I mean, they haven't confirmed it, but it looks like it's PlanetSide 2's engine it's running off of. There's destructible things in this game now. So there's destructibility in the game now. They got a new little editing thing going on.
I just want to go ahead and emphasize the destructibility and how much that brings to an MMO.
Things breaking.
You have to understand, like, this is freaking ridiculous. You don't get a lot of destructibility in many games, period. To the fact that you're putting one in an MMO, like, you have to understand how is this going to change the entire dynamic of the game.
No, we could speculate.
Like, there's a lot of speculation that could happen.
There's a lot of crazy shit that's going to go down.
The speculation for what destructibility brings to almost any genre is usually, like, close to the same.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to consider, like, this is an open environment. This is millions upon people on a server coming in and just destroying a world.
Fucking shit.
Like, I almost feel like you start a server and like within moments everything's just gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking shit.
Like, what happened? Like,
the only thing everybody logs in and then they're just like, all at once.
You know what people are gonna do. That's the first thing people are gonna do is like, I want to see what happens when I start destroying shit.
I'm gonna speculate that's what happened to. I'm gonna go ahead and speculate that's what happened to Final Fantasy 14. They had destructibility, and that's why the world was empty.
Everything was just gone.
They just blew everything up.
If only that was the real reason.
Within about 6-7 minutes, the entire world was flattened. Right when they launched out, people were leveling up to kill. Like 2 minutes later, all right, I got fire.
It's as if nothing was here to begin with.
Exactly.
Fire leveled up to 2. Like, yeah,
but I mean,
statue.
But seriously, I mean, like, destructibility to an MMO, like, it could bring a lot of like crazy sort of.
It could, but there's always the same arguments. Like, besides what you just said with the mass destruction, with everybody just fucking around shooting fireballs and shit, like, there's, like, that concept where, like, you have, like, structures that are, like, you know, important to the game. Obviously, you can't break those. And you get into that more finer details where what can be destroyed and what can't be destroyed for the sake of balance, etc.
Thing is, though, there will be, I promise you, like, I mean, there are certain times when in certain MMOs you always have your important NPCs, you know, people you need the quest givers and things like that. But the thing is though, I have played MMOs where quest givers can die.
Hell yeah.
And that will completely alter the way the game is played. Exactly. Like, you will, like, man, you know, I really need to turn in this quest. If I turn in this quest, I'm going to level up, and then, like, you know, things don't start looking good.
And what happens?
Bam, you go to the fucking place, quest giver's dead. Why? Because there was a fucking raid that came through.
Or like fireball, one of your wild fireballs.
Yeah, they respawn after.
Yeah, they do respawn after a bit. But, like, even the fact that they're dead, it just alters everything. Now it's like, well, I was expecting shit to level up right now.
That's like funny ass shit.
One of their children comes and says, "My dad died." He tell you, "Give your this if you came back." There you go.
And it sucks when someone kills the child. Then
all that's gonna happen is another kid's gonna come and say, "My brother was killed."
My brother was killed, though.
He told me that his dad told us to tell you that if you brought back this time.
I mean, I don't know. It's like, to me, like, an MMO, because an MMO game in and of itself, it's a very unique genre. You know, like, you get destructibility in, like, a Battlefield 4. You know, you kind of know what to expect. You know, you can blow up a wall to access, you know, a different route to actually get to your enemy. With an MMO, it's a little bit different.
It's going to be extremely different because you're not talking about the same strategic thing any longer. When you have it as an entertainment thing to say, okay, now you have these spells that allow all this destructibility, that could play into nothing. Now, for one instance, I need to make this very, very clear. In Battlefield, if somebody was, let's say, near a building, and part of this building fell next to them, you would still be alive. In Battlefield 3, if you're standing next to a building and somebody shoots something and these, you know, parts of the building come, you die. So these are two different games two somewhat of the same games where they both have destructibility. In one game, they have you getting killed by this, and another does. So with something like EverQuest, do we know that the physical part will hurt somebody else?
That would suck.
If I'm blasting something and the thing I'm blasting, like parts of it are affecting the person in front of me, that has now played a part into the game. But if it doesn't, then okay.
Especially in a game where like MMOs, dying sucks. In an MMO, when you die, it's like it's not what you want. You don't want that. So imagine like you have your rival factions. Someone's just like, oh man, you see that fucker over there? I'm gonna fucking blow up the damn wall right above him. And just have the shit fall on him. You're gonna fucking die. It's gonna be awesome. Does it? You just run around. Freaking rock falls on your head. You're dead. You're just like, fuck, flip the table. It's gonna be like
I don't think it'll happen quite like that.
It'd be fucking awesome if it did. Like, I think that'd be incredible. To me, as much as people like hate on that, and as much as like whenever like an MMO does this sort of thing, and like for some reason it like immediately gets patched to make things easier for you, like that's what made moments in like the early days of WoW. And like the early days of the Overplay, that's what made those games so special to me. Was the fact that like I can run around. All of a sudden, I'm a little elf dude. I'm running around like minding my own business, doing my quest, doing my quest or whatever. All of a sudden, that level fucking 50 orc is running there. I'm just like, fuck. Like, let me make sure this fucker doesn't see me. You like trying to make your way like hide behind a tree or something. Make sure like your letters above your head are gonna be like like obscured by just the foliage and shit. Yeah, like those are the moments that made those games like really enjoyable for me. So it's like with destructible environments, it kind of like brings like a sort of twist to that, and I kind of hope that they kind of do that.
Like honestly, maybe I'm not being imaginative enough, but I don't feel like this is bringing anything to the table. Before
we go any further, I think it is.
I think it could.
You can't say there's another MMO game that's even doing a damn thing.
Well,
so before we go any further with this, let me just add that the actual destructibility that's coming to this, their new engine but the tool set that's releasing this fall is going to be called Landmark. Now this is being released absolutely for free, and it's releasing this fall. So you could essentially build portions of the game. So these portions of the game, I haven't confirmed or seen anything that stated that this is the entire game world is going to be pre-made. I don't think. I think there's an area in the game where you go into, just like you go into areas on PvP and Guild Wars 2, where you have to go to a specific area to go on there. I think you'll be able to go to an area that is essentially a user-made area that everybody has essentially helped build this user-made area. Now, I think that area that has the destructibility will have destructibility that may do something. I don't think they want to have destructibility on the main portion of the game, where just like Craig was talking about, like you could have certain areas that you might need get destructed for no reason. The only way I see this happening is if you made it where every hour or kept regenerating after a specific amount of time.
I figured that would happen.
If you think about it like this, now that they have this whole system in there, the cloth moving, and we'll put up the link to you guys so you guys see how fancy this shit is. But when they have like the cloth
lion face,
the lion face,
the Madagascar lion.
Madagascar's lying in it. It's wearing all this shiny armor and textures and shit. There's like some fancy cloth and some bitch that looks like Bioshock. That bitch from Bioshock Infinite looks like she's in it. And a whole bunch of fancy shit's going down. But the whole stuff that's happening with the whole wind and everything. If you consider a tree. If you can take down a tree inside of this game, clearly at some point they're going to say, all right, fuck it, this tree's growing back. So if you consider that they're going to make it come back at some point, I think that makes more sense to the overall game.
Yeah, I mean,
during a time
I would assume that was kind of happening.
So you can't just fly out a server.
You can't have an MMO world without having like things to generate.
The MMOs are a bad atmosphere too.
Unless they do it like every 24 hours or some shit. They fuck.
That would. Oh my god, I cried. So you log on, you're like, oh man, 24 hours later, good, I'm ready to go. You log on, it's just still gone. You're just like, fuck. Someone else destroyed it. Fuck.
You just look, you see all this fire everywhere, blood everywhere. You see like all.
Can you imagine you log into a server and all you see is freaking everything's on flame?
Yes. I have to log in at like 9:30 a.m. to get the good shit.
Pretty much, you're like, who did this? Who did
that shit?
Oh, well, I mean, this is just speculation.
That is speculation.
I was just about to nerd out, but let me just leave it alone. Could you imagine if they put like bounties on people who like started destroying shit? Yes. If you kill those fuckers, like you actually like got something out of it because they were destroying shit. Awesome. But like, I mean, I could never see that happening. I mean, there was never really anything announced like that. So. Yeah, right. That'd be awesome.
Nerd it out. But I hope they do that. But please, people, if you get the chance,
yeah, definitely check it out.
Check out the link below. The game looks gorgeous.
I don't know. For the destructibility, I think it'll be limited to PvP.
I don't know.
Well, not limited, but like it'll be
most viable.
By how they were talking about
it
sounds like it's a
when
game.
you say destructible environments, I think PvP. They're trying to hide behind a slab gets broken.
I mean, it doesn't mean that it's going to be limited to that. I mean,
I'm not saying
it'll be there, but
right.
I could see how that comes into play on PvP.
I see that as being the main functionality.
I can get why you're saying, but I don't know.
It being in all
the most obvious functionality, I should say.
I think there's a good possibility of it being in every single game mode. I don't know if they would want to add such a radical thing and just be like, oh yeah, it's only PvP.
You're right. Like, I don't think they're gonna be like. That's not what I mean. Like, I'm not saying it's not going to be in like everywhere else, but I'm saying like when I think of destructible environments, the first thing I think of is PvP. You hide behind something and it gets fucking blown up.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to be like, oh, what a beautiful mountainside.
So what you're telling us is that if you play PvP, there will also be destruction in PvP.
Probably, more than likely.
I see that as being the most practical usage of such a feature.
CyberQuest next. Looks pretty, destructible environment.
Lion faces.
Who knows?
If you've seen what it's like.
God, what was that lion's name in that movie? Madagascar.
I think it was Madagascar.
Me neither.
I think his name was Madagascar.
Okay.
Oh, man. Let's go.
I think it was Madagascar. That's his name. But if you get it. Also, we're going to call this now. Put out the predictions that we're going to wait for that imminent PlayStation 4 announcement for this game.
Oh, you think
so? Hell yeah, I think so. I mean, because how they've been doing MMOs lately, it's like I just don't see them not doing it. Like they went like MMO fest.
Like we've created a very sleek UI. Like what's that console friendly? It's got like 5 buttons on it.
Like you got a hotkey on any gamepad. What are you trying to say? PlayStation 4 Windows? When is gonna happen, bro? No, but we're gonna call right now before Sony does that. This will be on PlayStation.
I won't get into it, but to back that theory even further, like the second I saw the UI in Diablo 3, I'm like, yeah, this shit's gonna be on consoles.
How can it not? But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm semi-hyped. I'd have to hear more about this because we could be seeing this game in like 12 years. So,
we must remember it is still EverQuest.
That is true. So we have to scale our hype back just a little bit, and also remember like this could be
a for the game that's not out yet.
This could be one of these podcasts that we talk about this game in like fucking like 6 years like release. This game's still not released. So I mean, but granted they are releasing that whole tool set later this year. So it's like who knows how further along they are, and they are also.
I just hope that the episode of this come out like it also ends in a 0, so it'll be like cute. Episode 30, we're talking about something we talked about in episode 10. Or episode like 100.
We get nerded out like
we lined it up perfect.
When it's about to come out, we're like, I sure want to do an episode. Craig's like, we haven't done an episode for like 4 weeks. Like, I don't know. EverQuest might come out soon. I don't want to get to 100 without it. And it turns out when it doesn't release, we're gonna shoot by like 10 episodes a week. We're gonna do an episode like every day. We're gonna do an episode like 110. I'm like, wait, Greg. Let's wait for an announcement. Maybe this is good.
That's what I was gonna say. They'll like find out like they're gonna fucking announce it really soon. We're only like episode like 26. Like,
so let's hope we don't do that. Don't let us do that, please, because we might. But I'm getting hyped about it. And speaking of other radical, cool PC news, things have been semi-leaked. Apparently, art director working for Valve leaked out a little teaser trailer, which is supposedly supposed to be some like stuff from Left 4 Dead 4 or 3. Excuse me. There's a 4 in it, so
you
4 in it. Maybe I did. Yeah. Okay.
I hope like when they do make Left 4 Dead 4, they just like actually spell out the 4 as FOR and then put the 4 at the end. It would be better that way. I feel like they should do that.
You probably should. Because at this point, it's like, look, you guys.
So, you know, we'll just take that 4, just slap it at the end there, and just write FOR.
That's what I thought. I thought, like, for me, how I looked at it was like, you're going to get to 4 pretty quick. And you've already put a 1. You already put a 4 in front of the first Left 4 Dead. Like, y'all bitches better have a fucking plan how you're going to do this whole game, because y'all know the 4 is already in there.
You got to do something clever for it. You got to do something clever for it.
You call it 4 for 4?
Right.
You'd be like, yeah.
Just call it 4? Like, what are y'all going to do?
Right? 4D4.
And that's probably the closest we'll get to
it. Home. Time to play some Left Dead 4.
all the fanboys are going to call it 44. I'll make them 44. God, yeah, bitch. Yes. Oh, it's like, oh, you guys playing Left 4 Cube. It's like, oh my god, you guys feel like playing Biff 3rd?
What?
That's like, I really shouldn't have understood that. I really shouldn't have understood it.
Yeah, see, that's just... I mean, I don't know how many episodes will go by until y'all realize that Edwin and Akash are the only people here that play Battlefield 4 or Battlefield in general.
We like it.
Anyway, Left 4 Dead 3.
All we have is little baby leak text stuff that people confirming it. But the biggest news from this entire thing has to be Source 2 is being confirmed. This is probably
Source
way
2,
bigger
yeah.
than Left 4 Dead. Because Left 4 Dead could have released on Source and we probably would have been like, whatever, you know. But Left 4 Dead being... I mean, also, just to make notes, everybody, Titanfall is being released and that runs on Source Engine.
Yeah, so the fact that, So the fact that Titanfall is being released for Source Engine and the fact that they're already making Source Engine 2 and Left 4 Dead 3 is going to be running on it, it's just like, well, bam, shot in the foot, lean. One for Daddy.
In every fucking podcast, there's that phrase. Nobody knows it.
Yes, and one for Daddy.
but definitely, it's Titanfall running on Source Engine, and I don't care when anyone says, that game looks ugly as fuck. But anybody, it's ugly. It's no ugly as fuck. This game is ugly, but it's running on Source Engine. And not to say Source Engine is bad, but they've pulled off some pretty good ass shit with it. Source Engine being an older engine, and I wanted to talk to this about Akash to be able to understand a bit more. But having a game run on an older engine, enabling to have it run in 1080p, 60 frames, high motherfucking frame rate, is telling me they chose this engine specifically to make Titanfall just to say, yo, you gotta run in 1080p, 60 frames. Fuck yeah, me too. I can go on my 5770 right now. Play Half-Life, play that bitch on 100 frames. Yeah, everything up, jacked up, easy. It's not hard to fucking play that quality base. I'm like, oh, 120 frames. Thank you. It's like, it doesn't mean shit. So, I mean, I think they chose an older engine just to do that. It's questionable why the fuck they chose such an old engine. It's really old engine. So, why you chose such an old tool set, I don't know. But, them releasing Source Engine 2 is a big ass deal. So, it's like, if you have Total Rock making Left 4 Dead, I mean, so, like, y'all boys want to confirm, like, Half-Life 3? Is that what's going on here? Huh? but I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I'm getting nerded out of it. But I think that we might as well confirm that they are releasing their batch of new games.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Half-Life 3 confirmed. They're releasing their batch of new games, hopefully. Source Engine 2 is a bigger deal than, I think, Left 4 Dead 3. Left 4 Dead 3, like I was stating with Titanfall, could have been released this generation.
Yeah, it's
not this generation, it could have been released next generation on Source 1.
Yeah.
So I say if it could be released this generation or next gen on that, I see no reason why the next one could. So the biggest thing that I take from this is, okay, it's running on Source Engine 2. Are we going to get our first nice peek at what Source Engine 2, like finally what this engine is going to look like? Because I think it's going to be fucking decent.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that we would talk about that because it's like, you know, Left 4 Dead, you know, like, it's a good-looking game and all, but it's not the kind of game that was meant to, like, debut how good something looks or etc. It's just, it's a pure gameplay-based game.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I guess.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, man. All 10 subscribers to this channel are now gone.
That game eats vagina.
It was fantastic.
No one liked that game. I played that.
That's why Valve was making 3 of them.
No one liked it.
Everybody likes Half-Life, no 3.
Game sells like a gajillion.
Let's make Left 4 Dead 6.
Half-Life 2 has sold such a ridiculous amount. I don't even know if we could tally the actual sales of this entire game series, digital and physical retail copies, in every edition, on every platform. You might as well sit back and be like, so PlayStation 4 getting Half-Life 2 version 2? Because we know that's going to happen. We know. I mean, we're all set. We know it's going to happen. Let's confirm it right now.
Episode 4, 5, 6.
Thank you. Let's confirm this right now.
That
Half-Life Episode 1 and 2 will be re-released on Xbox One, PlayStation 4. We might as well just say they're going to do it. Because at this point, they're just re-releasing shit on every single fucking system. You might as well.
Like maybe if we keep showing him this game, they'll forget about it.
That's what makes me so mad. It's like, why do you keep re-releasing Half-Life 2? Where's 3? You're spending all your time porting games? I'm mad. But,
you think they would remake like 1 or something? They never did it, right?
No.
One came out once.
It was a mod. It was some modders.
It's always modded.
They're gonna have fucking versions of.
And I'd really like to play one because I've never played Half-Life, the original Half-Life. I'm sorry.
It's amazing. It's really good.
I'm sorry. I've never played the original Half-Life. I've never had the means to.
You should play. You should play the Black Mesa version.
Don't.
No, I haven't played it.
Huh?
I haven't played it.
Oh, good.
I played.
You guys need it.
Yeah, I played 2 in episode 1 because I had the orange box.
Yeah, 2 episode 1, episode 2.
I haven't played episode 2.
If you haven't played, play the Black Mesa thing.
Your boy would like to say he got the achievement in episode 2 where you don't let any of the Striders destroy all the houses. This shit was fucking hard.
Your boy just wants to let you know.
I'm sorry. Sarah parts of that game is hard as fuck.
I don't even care about achievements. Let me get that straight. But that achievement is like, that's not one like, damn, your boy got neighborhood watch. So you know what I'm talking about? That part towards the end? You don't let any of the Striders destroy the houses. Those fucking things spawn next to the house.
You essentially have to stop them from killing you. So it's like, no.
If you tell me I have to defend a house, I did it. Somehow I did it. It's the most frustrating experience.
As much as we don't talk about Half-Life, we're still talking about Left 4 Dead 3.
Yeah, we don't have much to say about Left 4 Dead 3.
I just feel bad.
Besides what they
It's like we talk about any Valve game. It's like the conversation's always going to steer to Half-Life.
Did you hear about that new game, Half 4 Dead 3 coming out?
Half 4 Dead Portal 3?
Yes, Half 4 Dead Portal. Fortress. Half 4 Dead Portal.
The portal to the Half Dead?
I feel like Portal Dead 3.
Portal Fortress. The whole
Fortress.
The
portal to the Half Dead Fortress.
Yeah. That's what they're gonna tell you.
Yeah, you're gonna have to lead this one, Evan, because I'm not really sure.
Yay!
But I can read the title. It says CD Projekt buys another studio.
Yay! They opened up shop in a new studio. As for what, I don't know. But the sources say probably for game design. But we
have an unnamed source.
We have our sources. That unnamed source right there gave us that. He was finding him under the bushes, and he's like, "That's
really awesome."
Our unnamed source's unnamed source told us about this.
He was finding
CD Projekt's like, yes, we're now making trading cards. It's like not even have anything to do with game design at all.
He had bought a 5-year-old JVC camera and decided to hide in some bushes to know what's going on. So his company.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. He's gonna have a picture to the side of him next to the camera. He's like, yeah, that's him. That's the boy right there. That's the boy right there. That's the boy right there going in that building right there. He's coming out with a deed. Is that a deed to his hand? And then it zooms in and says deed to property. That's the address right there, bro. You bought the shit right there, bro.
Says every word on the paper says deed to property.
Oh, yes,
dude. When we asked our source about his source, he only had one thing to say. He purported to say, that's why I ride with this man.
That is why I ride with this man.
Yes, that is why I ride with this man. With this man.
Back to more pertinent questions.
What are they doing with this? Probably to make games. No, they're probably. I think they're using this new studio. No seriousness. I think they're using this studio to make their whole new Cyberpunk game that they're working on. I think it's called Cyberpunk 77. So I think they're using this new studio to probably assist them on that game since they're working on The Witcher 3. Now, I don't know if it's to assist them with the development of Witcher 3 because Witcher 3 is absolutely fucking massive. When I say massive, we talk about Skyrim. This game looks like it shits on Skyrim in terms of massive ability. This game, they stated it took them 48 minutes to walk from the beginning of the map to the ending of the map. That's a long ass fucking time. So you could go by horse, and it looks more like open. Like I've only played a little bit of the first Witcher. Ugly ass game, great combat. I've only played a little bit of it, but from what I've seen and what I heard is that you can't really traverse around these areas like people think you can. So this is now more open, more
So like so what you're saying, like Witcher 1 is more like that. Like we have a lot of areas, but they're like segmented in like a Borderlands stylist.
Pretty much.
You go through a loading area and then you're in that set area.
Pretty much, and like Witcher 3 is pretty much straight up open.
What about Witcher 2? Is it like that or more?
I didn't even play Witcher 2.
Yeah, like I've heard fantastic.
I know, like that's the thing. Like we had talked about doing like a whole little segment of like games that we wish we played this generation. Like both of our lists.
But me and
Everyone's list, we both had The Witcher on there.
Like, I'm hearing good things about this game from a genre and a niche part of gamers that will they would know what.
What's good and what's not.
This isn't like a game that's aiming for the top by making generic games.
Yeah, and it's like I see
this is like well received in the targeted communities.
I see Witcher 3 as more diversifying themselves by making it open world and trying to say, let's get out of that area of having an ugly game. So the game looks incredibly good. The game is open world. You heard me. Witcher 1 looks like shit. No. You get the atmosphere in there, but come on now. He's never shitty ass, never winner.
Right. Yeah, right. It's gonna come back to bite you. It's gonna be like fucking 2 years from now. They're making another Witcher game. Your channel takes off. Like, can I get a review copy?
Yeah. So like,
I know, little bitch. I heard what you said.
Get Foxhole. Foxhole's honest. We don't take bribes for shit.
Amen.
We fucking hate you.
Amen.
Exactly
fuck you, Square. Still love you, but fuck you.
You are.
I know
Square, you piece of shit. You know.
I love pieces of them.
I love what they were. I love the memory of Square.
I like 6 people at Square. Maybe the janitor. Fuck Square. Square's so fucking nasty, that pile of shit.
I like that guy that lets you in the door. He's like, welcome to Square Enix. And he's like, you're good.
He's the best.
And then I walk inside, I'm just like, fuck you.
He's the best employee at Square by far. Horrible.
They're not very nice there anymore. I remember when I visited the studio when it was Squaresoft. They're like, welcome to Squaresoft, no turn-based combat.
Where we do turn-based combat? Right. Now they're like, welcome to Squaresoft. We got Tomb Raider.
Oh god! When they turned into Square Enix, it was pretty much the end. And I feel when that turn happened, it's like fucking Skynet.
Was Kingdom Hearts 1 still Squaresoft?
It was Squaresoft.
It was Squaresoft.
Right?
You could actually get a box copy that said Square Enix during the reprint. When they reprinted it, it says Square Enix in some of the copies. But let's see if Craig has Squaresoft, Square Enix. You probably actually have the Squaresoft. Because you bought yours like always. Yeah. But they could eat a dick. Fuck those boys. But in terms of what The Witcher's doing, I like that they're making the game look better looking. And yes, I have my criticisms about the first game. No matter what the fuck they say to us in the future, I don't give a fuck. That game looks like shit. That game looks laughably funny.
Like, I saw him play.
We're gonna play The Witcher, Craig.
Okay.
We're gonna see how laughably funny some of that shit is. It's not even a good laugh, right? It's like shit. But parts of it look bad. Witcher 3 stepped up the game. It looks like a real game. It looks good. Mm-hmm. Along with having those great mechanics and that mature storyline and all that fanciness that people love about the series. So I feel that buying this new team may be to help them with their new whole Cyberpunk one.
Right.
Now, mind you, they announced the Cyberpunk game before The Witcher 3. So many people were kind of like, oh man, this game's going to take a long ass time. Witcher 3's not even made. And here's Witcher 3 getting ready to release next year. So I feel that this Cyberpunk game might come out faster than people think, considering how quickly, The Witcher 3 is coming along. So if they're purchasing a new team, I get much more hype for what this company might do in the future, because it means we make it in a timely manner, which actually, in my opinion, plays a big role into you caring about a game. We've gone through many times, and I won't go to all the examples, we've gone through many times where we cared about a game, got hyped about a game, the game took so damn long to release, we didn't even know what the fuck it was by the time the game released. So we lost interest, moved on to bigger and better things, and stopped caring about the release. The hype factor was gone, we're buying it when it's used. Now, that's not a good thing a company wants to hear. So them releasing game in a timely manner gives me the trust that if I buy their games, they'll release other ones, and I'll buy them in a timely manner versus wasting my time.
Right.
So, I'm very happy about that. In other PC news, since we're talking about PC development
in general, PC-centered podcast.
In terms of the money being spent to pump PC, we would like to sit here and talk about Kickstarter. Yeah.
Yay!
Kickstarter. Why'd you
get that tattooed on my back?
Why'd you get all bro dudes on?
That's certainly not bro dudes.
Bro dudes.
Have you ever heard of this thing called
Call of Duty?
Have you ever heard of this thing called Kickstander?
Yeah, they tried to release it to make like this game. It's like wannabe
It's
like
like-
Mortal
so, like-
Kombat ripoff called Skullgirls. It's not Mortal Kombat, dude.
I'll fucking kill you.
Meet me in the street.
I will fucking kill you.
That game, Kano's not even in that game, dude.
I went to my friend's
Like, I almost got like legit mad at you there for a second.
He was like, let's knock back a few Jägermeisters. And I was all like, yo man, where's Shao Kahn in this game?
Thank you. Where's Reptile? Yeah. Mortal Kombat 2 was.
Where was that one guy in Mortal Kombat 2? Reptar.
Rampage.
Yo, I just feel like, like there's so many of these references that no one's gonna get.
They will not. They might understand.
No one understands, bro, dude.
Whatever it is.
Anyways, but Kickstarter. What do you want to talk about with Kickstarter?
Oh, mainly Kickstarter success. I want to know, and no, we want to speculate what's going to happen with Kickstarter next gen in terms of a lot of these games coming out, specifically because Microsoft making their big classic 180 with this whole game publishing thing.
I mean, I know there are some people out there who kind of like fear Kickstarter and like the thing that what it's becoming, but I see a lot of good coming out of Kickstarter. Because like we were saying before, like there are a lot of projects out there that that are forming in people's minds, and they only really have the resources to do like maybe like a 10-minute demo of a game or of anything really, of music, a board game, whatever. They have about 10 minutes to actually put something together, and they really don't have the funds to actually see their dreams through.
Sure.
So they go ahead and they put it on Kickstarter and they show everybody like, this is my vision. This is kind of what I want to happen. If you're down for it, throw me some money and we can put it out there and I can get it to you.
Yeah, I know.
And it's just like
there was like this one instance where I felt like there was like an overwhelmingly amount of like sexist content towards males in the video game industry. So I was like, I'm gonna put out this series of videos and be like gay about it.
I kid. Say that for later. I kid. That was horrible. That's horrible and offensive to the women audience that may be listening to this properly.
It's quite possibly the worst segue in the fucking world.
That's a segue that's so bad because we're not even much.
I know.
Not even in the least.
I know. I'm not even trying to segue.
Not even in the least. Good Lord.
I just want to let you know that wasn't even meant to be a segue.
Oh my God!
I had to seize the moment.
Craig said 2 words.
I had to seize the goddamn moment.
I wouldn't want to release something that talked about the males.
But before we get into that, let's talk about the good Kickstarter has been doing.
Let's talk about the good old days.
There are some good Kickstarters.
People not being fucking cunts.
Die slow. Let's talk about the good Kickstarters.
Wait for that.
That Craig knows, Skullgirls. Skullgirls is a Kickstarter many people already know.
Oh yeah, look at that.
A garner success, and the great thing about Skullgirls...
Way to bring that full circle.
Yes, is I want, and just based on this topic about what we feel is what is going to change next generation of gaming with now that something like Kickstarter exists, that any person who is a small-time developer does not need to go to a big-name, Big Daddy developer to beg for development.
Right.
So now that somebody doesn't need to do this, you could get a game like Skullgirls. Skullgirls is a perfect example of a game that is getting supported by crowdfunding by a very, very, very small team that just wants to make something that may have not have been made in the same respect by a big publisher.
Exactly.
Like we were talking about before with Atlus. Bigger publisher now has to make a bigger risk to release something, and now they're kind of like, okay, do we want to do this? We have to, flip the cost of publish. We have to do all this.
Dealing with the big publisher, you always have the big picture. The company has to spend a lot of resources to actually make sure that this game actually comes out.
When you have a big publisher that's funding your game with tons of money, what happens is like you have your vision, but they're like, yeah, we need to minimize risk.
Exactly. I was gonna say they always had like companies have a risk management department for a fucking reason. Like they need to make sure that when I release this game, like I'm gonna get back my money in return. Whereas there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of really good ideas and just don't quite have the funding for it. So having something like this where people are just like, oh, you know what? That actually does sound like a really good idea. Here's $10.
Yeah.
It's like you have the opportunity to do that.
Hey, here's
we'll minimize risk. What we need to do is put Sprint in this game and give it a progressive leveling system.
My fear is when big companies start using Kickstarter. That's when we have problems.
And I look at it like that, and I don't think a lot of big companies probably won't for a couple of reasons. There's all the legal reasons where they kind of can't.
You kind of shouldn't. It's kind of it's like cheating.
It's not even that, but it's because as a company, if the person who does this whole Kickstarter thing,
that's like your rich friend bumming money off you. You motherfucker.
How they do it? There's a legal way they can and can't do it. One of the legal ways they can't do it is if you get money from a charity, you have to show on your taxes that you received some sort of money from a charity. That's still something that's taxable, but you still could get that money back with a return. So you could actually potentially get more money back. But they companies are viewed as people. So if you go and your company, you decide to say, you know what, we're going to Kickstarter this, and we're Squaresoft, and we make X amount of money, we decided to Kickstarter something for a charity, that money, because of a whole bunch of policies that have been passed, that money is going to now get taxed. So that's why they're not going to choose to do such a thing that
makes sense.
So anytime you get a game like Skullgirls, for example, that got its success from something like Kickstarter, and now Skullgirls is released on PC, it's released on all the consoles, and I don't even know if handhelds or anything. But the fact that it's out there and people are paying money and they're going down there and saying, this is what was made by this, that we added a level, we added a character. They're going into detail to say, this is what your money paid for to give us this game. So this is something that enables the creator to get in touch with the actual people who are developing it. So if you get to a point where you have people pumping in money to some of these games, you have to say, where's the turning points of this? Where do we get something crappy? Where do we get a game that's too off, that doesn't deserve to be on the spectrum?
To me, but the beauty of it is, like, if you do end up getting something crappy, it almost becomes your fault. You know, it's like I'm not gonna get something crappy unless I actually put money towards it. Yeah. That's the beauty of Kickstarter. And the thing is too, if something isn't
something shitty, you regret it. Should never point that.
Exactly. That becomes on your head. But the beauty of Kickstarter is, if something isn't fully funded, you also get that money back.
Yeah.
If they don't meet their funding marker, then they refund all the money that was taken from it.
And I look at it like this: even if a game comes out, and a lot of people were mentioning this about having an open license on a platform for anybody to make whatever they want on there, it doesn't mean you can guarantee success. Yeah. So even though something like that does happen, it doesn't mean that every game out there will do well. Clearly, there are going to be some victories.
I mean, look at Skullgirls. I mean, even though it's a phenomenal fighting game, it doesn't mean it made it into fucking Evo this year, did it?
If you use Kickstarter as like a way to like gauge your own like necessity to make something. Like, imagine, I thought it was something really scary when you guys were talking. Could you imagine if fucking Square Enix was all like, yeah, FF7 remake, gonna put that shit on Kickstarter, you know? Just like, how much money would that come in?
Star Citizen has now found a competition. That's what that would mean. I could almost assure you it would
Oculus Rift.
That would be scary.
And just as after you mentioned that, Oculus Rift was actually a Kickstarter.
Yeah, Oculus Rift Kickstarter too. Yeah.
So it's not even just about gaming.
Yeah, it's more than just gaming. I'm saying it's more than just gaming, because I mean, you see everything Kickstarted. Like there's a lot of music guys that are Kickstarted. There's a lot of freaking board game developers that are Kickstarted. It's not just video games. It's a lot of stuff that are Kickstarted.
True, but the thing is, like, gaming is
there's a very popular board game that I have that I bought on Kickstarter. So
there you go.
I mean, there's a lot of good things on Kickstarter, but the thing is, with good always comes bad.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say, how do we see this changing anything that happens with next gen? Especially if you add into the factor that Xbox One has an open publishing thing just like PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. So now with both of these having open publishing, you're essentially putting them in PC on the equal playing field of releases. So it's like, though we had a game like Skullgirls released, I mean, not everything that was put on Kickstarter was clearly released on consoles. Yeah. So the idea that these consoles have an architecture that's exactly like PC's architecture, and they have open licensing platforms, you could expect to see some of these games day and date on Steam and on other PC platforms along with consoles.
What it comes down to is, what it looks like is that if you actually do fund the game on Kickstarter, like you were just saying, like, it's very plausible that, like, once the game gets funded and once the game actually is completed, you're going to see it on your PS4. You're going to see it on your Xbox One because there's no reason not to.
Yeah, because even though I don't think... Nintendo is still doing it. Nintendo has the whole independent thing that's going on. Dude,
well, Nintendo's like... It's Nintendo. He's like... You got Xbox One, PS4 over here, and then Nintendo we just like kind of show off to the side.
You know why they kickstarted that fucking new Smash Bros. Wii U DLC.
Nasty. But Nintendo is actually doing their whole independent game thing.
If you guys want Daisy in your next Smash Bros. Game, better kickstart that shit.
We'd like to see Waluigi.
There's a lot of people like, oh man, I wonder if Waluigi's gonna be the next Smash Brothers game.
Yeah.
I actually saw that on like the Nintendo Direct. People were talking about Waluigi and shit.
You got to announce that Luigi will be in there.
That's not even an announcement.
I mean, let's not even get into that because that's just a whole rant.
I know.
Not even with an announcement. But there's a lot of good things that successfully been, like Shadowrun, like we're
Shadowrun
was actually talking
about. Oh man, I want to play this game so bad.
And Shadowrun, successful Kickstarter, came out.
I got a question. How long has the new Shadowrun been out?
Not very long.
For days.
For days?
Yeah.
Literally days. Because from my understanding, I saw.
Yeah, I know like last week is when.
What is the price?
I think it's 20.
20?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's $19.99. I think last time I checked, it was $19.99.
Yeah, and they Kickstarted the fuck out of that game. No, that's a game that otherwise would have never been made.
Yeah.
It had not been Kickstarted because of the actual business around who owned it, who owned the actual rights to it, and there was no team at the time to do it. Now, when Fawcett was doing it, when Microsoft still owned them as a team, when Microsoft closed them down or they stopped being a team at Microsoft, that's no longer a team that could now make Shadowrun. So now Shadowrun certainly doesn't have a home. So Microsoft has an IP for a game that doesn't have a home. So when you have something like this, you now created this area with
seems to happen a lot with Microsoft.
They don't want to fund it. They don't want to.
Microsoft has a lot of IPs that just don't have homes.
Yes, pretty much. So it's like you have something that may not release based on they don't got a team to make it. But here's this team coming out saying, "Hey, look, we'll get support. We'll get it Kickstarted, and as it gets Kickstarted, you'll be able to come out and do stuff." But I should kill you. I should kill you. I should stop. We're not talking about that. Those are hard times nobody wants to discuss.
Nobody said anything. Stop talking about it.
85% of our podcast talked about that.
There's like 3 topics that like always seem to come up.
Why do you keep talking about Rare?
Bitch. As soon as he's like,
anyways, no, keep going. Shadowrun. We're on Shadowrun.
Bitch. But Shadowrun would have never been created had they not had something like Kickstarter. So we have a game where most games we could say, okay, maybe they would have, like Star Citizen. I personally believe that given the right team, given the right publisher, you could have still made you could have still made Star Citizen. I mean, that's up for debate. But something like Shadowrun, in the way that it's made right now,
it has more to do with creative liberty.
The way they did this game with Star Citizen, you have to go. If you haven't seen anything, please go online and see what this game is about. You as a small team, you cannot create such a game that they're making over here. As a small team, not being played, you can't do it.
It's impossible.
It's just the ridiculousness, the epicness of this game. It's as next gen as any game we could say is next gen right now, based on what it's doing.
It's like episode 1 into the foxhole, yo.
Pretty much. So it's very much as next gen as it gets. But I don't want to get too much into that. But the idea that you have something that's being Kickstarted that would have never been made is the whole essence of having a great Kickstarter. So you have a game being made, not by Microsoft, not published by them at all, but you have them okaying the license to be okayed by somebody else to actually develop this game. This game would have never been made without Kickstarter. It came out, they said they wanted to make one, showed some concept art, and people funded it. Mind you, this is not even a fully funded Kickstarter. If you consider that this was halfway through development, they got the Kickstarter. So think about games that will get 100% fully funded by this if they come out and say, you know what, we're going to leave this team ABC. Let's say we have our beefs about, me and Akash have our beefs about Infinity Ward with Call of Duty. We don't really like the idea that right when this team is gone, this entire series just turned to shit. So we feel like, you know what, we want it back to what other Call of Duty was. So couldn't Jason West and a handful of those teams that were at Respawn, couldn't they just go off and say, you know, we're going to kickstart our own game that's like Call of Duty? That's like what it was with 4.
What was the guy's name? It was Jason West.
It was Jason West and something.
Vincent Pella?
It was something. It was something.
Like I like how we never remember that other guy's name. I feel like this has happened before.
Fuck that dude. Fuck that dude.
What was the last title that they worked on in Infinity Ward?
Infinity Ward. It was Modern Warfare 2. I believe that was the last. I was either Modern Warfare 2. It might have been Modern Warfare 3, as I think Modern Warfare 3 actually might have been the last Infinity War.
Well, that's less than Infinity War title, but that's like
no. I mean as the team.
I don't think it was MS3.
But it was really, really, really bad. So it's like if you consider that this team leaves, are no longer part of Activision, we still want that. We still feel like we were owed that sequel to the Call of Duty 4. It's like Call of Duty 4 is great, and then every other game is pretty much shit. So that's the type of thing that we would want Kickstarted. So if they got together as a team, Kickstarted this shit, we'd be happy as hell. Hell, even like, to talk about what we don't want to talk about, but even the old team from Rare, they are actually getting together to actually Kickstarter a game that is in the spiritual successor of Banjo-Kazooie, a platformer. So the fact that they're getting together and making this, let's say this game comes out. Mind you, they could do it on the Wii since Nintendo is very much accepting that. So if they release this game on the Wii U and they release it on like Xbox One and PlayStation 4, we could theoretically get our real spiritual successor because we're no longer by the constraints of Microsoft. We're no longer by the constraints of these things. Kickstarter is like the best
relevant to your point. I actually remember a while ago there was like some news that there was actually somebody who wanted to make a reskinned Halo CE on Kickstarter, and they had gotten like permission to use certain assets from 343, but I don't know what's the status on that.
I hope they say
like, we're talking like super reskin.
Yeah, but back to like
mechanics being the same, but the game is not looking the same.
Yeah, but like showing instances where that actually is successful, like you were saying with Shadowrun. These guys, they actually put forth their Kickstarter, and they actually got the use of the license of Shadowrun to actually make this game now using Kickstarter. So I mean,
mind you, if you think about how great that is, if you were just some Roman bum team and you went to Microsoft and said we want to use Shadowrun again, they might have never done this. But if they're like, say, hey, look at how good our team is, look at how much people Kickstarted it,
look how much people actually want this.
That was enough for them to okay. So I think that this is a big deal for gaming because it now means that we used this earlier in the show as an example. Okay, a game like Bayonetta, we don't need to feel like, damn, we're mad Hideki Kamiya or Shinji Mikami are no longer at Capcom because we can't get that Resident Evil we wanted. We can't get that Devil May Cry that we wanted. But never mind that. These guys are still alive.
So basically what you're saying is now this is allowing us, it's opening more doors for us to be able to follow the people who are responsible for making these games.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just following
the publisher, which might clearly change the game for financial reasons.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that I'm mad that Capcom does that. Business-wise, they do what they had to do, and they're making more money this generation than we could say any other generation ever. Yeah. So it's like, it's a great thing for them, but as a gamer, you're kind of like, we're shafted. But we can't rest our laurels on someone like Bethesda. How the hell were we going to know Bethesda would have accepted Shinji Mikami to be part of their team? Or something like Sega. How the hell were we going to know Sega was in such a great position to accept someone like Hideki Kamiya going on their team to make Bayonetta? These things weren't things that may have always happened. These are companies that weren't always that good. Even Bethesda for a long time was publishing their stuff under 2K. So there's a lot of what-if scenarios that these games may have never existed. But I have a great feeling that now that Kickstarter exists, that something like Evil Within might have been made through Kickstarter.
Right.
Something like Bayonetta might have been made through Kickstarter. Though we have some really good guy publishers, a good guy Greg publishers, coming out saying like, "Oh, publish your game, publishes game." Oh, skips licensing fee. So it's like we got some good guy publishers that are essentially letting these things happen. Now, if only we could get Mega Man Legends 3 Kickstarted, correct? So we can live our lives, right?
Let's make it happen.
I was waiting for somebody to say
so we could live. Yeah, Ken Jane.
You know, it's like bad when they're like talking about Legends, and Capcom was all like, "What do you want?" Like, you fucking did. What the hell?
They're like taking polls and shit. I know. And as soon as Ken Jane and Fune left, they're like, "Peace, close the doors, motherfucker." No, we keep joking about this. That basically Capcom's president was looking out the window, waiting for Shinji Mikami to get in. No, he was waiting for Ken Jane.
Once he closed his doors and started his engine, he's like, cancel that shit.
As soon as Infinity was walking towards this guy, he's like, yeah, guys, development's still good. It's still, alright, he's out of there. Close it down. Everybody get the fuck out. That's what I feel happened in Japan when this man left. So,
nobody's totally like, everybody get the fuck out.
Yeah, what, you guys, get out of here. So the fact that he's gone and all these things change up, as a gamer you're left with, so I'm not getting my Mega Man Legends game. Now, if Genji Inafune said, you know what, fuck it, I feel like it's not going to be Mega Man, but it'll be the closest we can do about it, we'll make a spiritual successor, go on Kickstarter and make that shit happen. So I feel a lot of developers might go towards Kickstarter, even big name developers, and I think we're not seeing that too much. We're seeing people like Double Fine do it. We're seeing they're developers, but
only like third party developers. You can see like actually like
Yes,
knocking
a
this
lot
out.
a lot of second party, a lot of third party.
Yeah.
Only first party that I know, or ex first party that I know of, is those dudes from Rare that want to make that game, or the ex dudes from Rare want to make that game. But the idea that you have a potential for a big name publisher to say, you know what, I mean a big name developer to say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go out on my own and I'll take half of my team with Kickstarter. And let's be real.
I need to like start a petition and like say like grab some developer and say, can you make like a good Star Fox game for me, please?
Thank you.
That's what I want.
And I feel that it's
you just like look at them like just like I said one thing like just look, I just want to fly.
Can you make sure that like that from the beginning to the end I'm in a fucking R-wing?
The dude's like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I'll say this is a great idea. Like, halfway through the game, you crash slam the door.
No. Come on,
That's how you slowly pull out a gun from under the desk. I was like, what is dog? Take the next.
That's like under the desk shotguns. Like, you hear it like slowly like, what was it?
You hear a cough, you're just like, excuse me?
That's what needs to happen.
Yes. I'm sorry. Outside the R-wing?
We're tired of crash lands in the narrative, and then they get back because they're nice guys who didn't shotgun other people.
We're tired of Ichi's ruining our game.
Ichi?
There's always some guy.
Ichi's just the dumbass Japanese guy who ruins everything.
Ichi is basically the name of some dude of all the games that we play that decided to do the worst thing. He put tripping in the game to make Fox.
Yeah, he put tripping in Super Smash Brothers Brawl. He cut Yuna's skirt for X2. He's done a lot of terrible shit. So Ichi just did everything bad.
Pretty much. So,
Ichi doesn't do anything right.
And tripping is heinous.
Tripping is the dumbest shit.
It's like overtly against competitive gaming in the very nature.
They don't get it to be.
But it's like throughout games in general, there's always like that one design factor. Like, there's no way you didn't put this shit in to just like fuck everything.
But it's back to Kickstarter.
Back to Kickstarter. I see this being a big deal in the future based on Kickstarter is very successful right now.
Mm-hmm.
How successful Kickstarter is right now is going to definitely play dividends into the future. The more successful this thing gets, if you look at, I think his name's Jason Roberts, if you look at the idea that this man essentially made Star Citizen
Good.
14 million, if not 15 million dollars in Kickstarter funding.
That's ridiculous.
That's
15 million. So to sit there and make such a, and mind you, he did like some really, really great games, but by no means, in terms of current status, is he a huge name.
Yeah.
15 million is a fucking lot
for
a niche game. Mind you, he did the Wing Commander games and some other
games. His games are more well known than he is.
Yes,
basically.
yeah. The games are well received games.
It's like, oh, who's that? Well, he did Wing Commander. Oh!
Yeah, but they're not such, he's not so well known that you could just say his name and make PC enthusiasts know who he is. So I say, like I was saying before, what stops any really, really big developer from coming out here and kickstarting his game? If you consider they giving a dude $15 million for a fucking PC game, $15 million, the console audience is far bigger than the PC audience. Mm-hmm. So if a big name developer, let's say John Carmack, comes out and says, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go make a game. I'm gonna go on my own and make a game. How much millions of backing could he potentially get if he says, I'm going to aim it towards PlayStation 4 and Xbox One? Because there's open publishing.
Yeah.
I'm not a publisher myself. I'm independent now, so therefore I don't need to pay for a licensing fee. This could potentially get to a point where a real team that used to be part of a publisher could essentially leave this publisher and straight go independent.
And start going themselves.
And just go on Kickstarter to get money.
I think
$15 million for a developer that
you
don't even know who this is.
Quite frankly, like, I think this is a fantastic point too. Like this literally makes it like much more respectable to do such a fantastic job. And if you're not getting you're like getting good pay, you're not being well respected in your company, but you're putting out these fantastic games, you can be like, hey, listen, fuck you. I'll watch this company turn into shitter as you make garbage when I leave, and I'll just kickstart my own project.
Very much so.
Exactly.
And realistically, he could take a lot of his team with him to continue these projects on. And even if majority of his team doesn't want to go, it doesn't even matter. You could get a whole bunch of new dudes, and his name by itself will get these games kickstarted.
Yeah, exactly.
If you consider the guy who did Star Citizen is not a game you could just put out there to get something like this done.
So just imagine someone like a Shinji Mikami, say maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Like, hey, listen guys, I want to make this new survival horror game. imagine how many people are going to hop on board this Kickstarter and say yeah, please do make another game.
Like if for some fucking reason Hideo Kojima wanted to do a Kickstarter, and he was like, hey, listen, I want to do before you.
No, not even I want to do a metal. You say part of the word metal, and he's just like all the money.
Start checking out your wallet already.
18 million.
As soon as that happens, start checking out your wallet. You start reading the numbers already. 483 780.
You're writing random numbers on this check. You don't even know. I don't know what it is, but I want you to have this.
He's like, you're quickly clicking it. You're like, all right, expiration date here, security number here. Alright, they didn't want to give this man money to make this game.
Yeah, I don't even know what he's saying. He'd be like, what the shit is this guy? Cooking mama so
like, somebody give this man money. So I feel that one day is going to happen. I feel that it's going to happen really soon because especially if we were to right now, and we don't have enough time, but if we were to right now, tonight, discuss what is the difference between an indie developer and just any other developer, with the exception of not having a publisher. You mentioned a lot of people, so we could say Insomniac is an indie developer because they're technically they're not owned by a publisher.
Right.
They're first party and second party to certain publishers, but they're not owned by them in any respect. So you start to bridge the lines between, okay, who is indie and who's big name publisher?
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned that.
This actually.
I won't get into it do a big thing, but the thing is what you're saying I believe I was reading something similar to that. It's the difference between the guys who made Bastion and the people who made Journey. Now, by no means is Journey a big game in terms of but for how successful it is, it turns out they didn't turn a huge profit. The people who originally made it because most of the game was funded by the publisher.
Yes, so it's
and the people with Bastion, successful and well praised as that game is, I do believe they went full indie on that one.
Yeah, so it's
they're still struggling. Yes, they're still basement shit.
Yes, if you consider that Journey is viewed as an indie game, yet Sony funded the majority of this game. It starts to make you question, okay, what really is indie in terms of a small scale development, in terms of the idea of what it is. Does it mean small team? Because there's a lot of small teams.
Because now people are using the term indie to define games that are very
by the style of it. I understand what you mean.
How would you put it?
Aesthetic, style,
unorthodox kind of game.
That, or even more so. Let's say if you consider the Max Payne team, the team that did Max Payne was made up of 12 people. So if you consider a small group of people like this made Max Payne, by no means can you really call them an indie team.
Yeah.
Yet they're a small team. So today's standard, they would be considered that by the team size. So what happens when this line starts to become more blurred as you now consider that they could get it kickstarted and release just as big as a blockbuster game without a publisher?
Yeah, this is actually very relevant to what we were talking about because it's people are doing it backwards. Now, you had indie teams back in the day before all this became a huge craze. And they would put out these games that were very unique and unorthodox because of the fact that they had limited resources and they needed to make something very, different, I guess. And they did that with whatever limited funds they had. They couldn't go out and make these huge sprawling adventure games and stuff like that. Now, you have that's become like a trademark for indie. People look at these very unorthodox games and think, oh, it must be an indie game. But now you have these unorthodox games that are being funded by publishers that are not technically made by an indie developer.
Yeah, but the only thing
indies become more of a style than anything else.
Independent developer and making an unorthodox game. Now there's people looking at unorthodox games coming from indie developers.
And what I believe nowadays is that I still believe that you could still do exactly what you were saying, but the complete opposite of it.
Yeah.
The idea that you can create a game and you may not be limited in terms of your funds, but you could very much creatively make that game that small stature, small structure of the game, with the understanding that that's the way you just want the game to be. So I feel that developers are looking like that game Rain. Rain is a game that's being done by Sony's Japan studios. Now, it's not an indie game. You could tell it's small scale in terms of its development. There's only a couple people working on this game. But you see that indie is also essentially getting publishers to see, let your creative juices go into your company. You won't regret it if you let these people do this. Because think about Capcom. Capcom went hard ironed on their initiative with Resident Evil and their initiative on all their games. And what happened? People like, Ken J left. People like Shinji left. But they went on to make new IPs. They went on to make incredible things. Now, what would have happened if Capcom said, you know what? Go ahead. Go make Bayonetta. We'll make Devil May Cry. You know what? Go ahead. Go make that Resident Evil type game, that horror game. We'll make an action game. What would have happened if they just gave that small creative leeway to let them do this? Capcom would have had it all. But they chose to go hard and say, you know what, we're making Resident Evil this way. But instead of giving some of that leniency to the developer, the developer to be a little bit more creative, they wanted to stay with these IPs, and now they're sort of paying for it in the respect that these could have been their games.
It's just like what I was saying. Like, you don't treat your primary developer, who's pretty much like helming the project and making it what it is. It really just goes to show that when you don't do that, that Kickstarter is giving these people other options too.
That's what's going to be really crazy in the next couple of years.
Exactly what I was going to say. What I do really like about what Kickstarter is doing is that it's giving, because this generation, as we both know, as all of us know here, it's been very, you had to do things a certain way or else it just wasn't going to sell. It kind of seemed like. You had to be crazy action based, had to be big budget, had to look nice.
Multiplayer.
Exactly. You had to have a multiplayer component to it, or else it probably just wasn't going to sell. Now with Kickstarter,
it had to look good like The Witcher.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm saying now with Kickstarter, you're getting these, because there are people like us out there who are just sick of it, who want something different. So I have these people on Kickstarter saying I have this idea now, and they're getting these creative ideas out there now. These creative ideas are actually getting funded, and people are saying, "Wow, these different things are actually making money.
Yeah,
we can actually make different things now." So I think this is nothing but good things that are happening.
This is like the big developer who was so stingy with their money to make something
something like a bad Disney movie,
An indie developer's like, "Hey, look what I did." They're like, "Nah."
I really feel like there's gonna be some crazy Disney story that's gonna come out of this. It's gonna be one indie developer who got their shit kickstarted, and then Capcom's gonna come in and "Oh, you should make it a game under our development." They're gonna totally change everything. Everything's gonna be different. All their fans are gonna hate it, and they're like, "Why don't you go back to the way you used to be?"
I don't know, man. You think it'd be the other way around, where they're being able to support themselves off of Kickstarter by reputation and such. Capcom's like, "Why don't you work for us?" And they're like, "Yeah."
I definitely think I'm 100% positive that's going to happen. I feel the way
I can make that movie, dude. You can make that movie.
And
we can hit that before anyone else does.
Through all the podcasts we've done, many of the new stuff that we talked about, many of them have been laying off some people. So many times companies would go and lay people off because they didn't make profit, or not even that. I can't even say that because
they didn't make profit. They didn't make as much money as they wanted to.
It's not even that, because they could make as much money as they want, like with DICE and Battlefield. Off of the DLC, they made $150 million off this DLC, and they still laid off the staff. So if you consider, it doesn't even matter how much money these people make.
DLC is something that's 100% profit.
So and even with that understanding of 100% profit, they still laid off a staff. So to lay off these staff says that they don't really care. It doesn't matter how well this game does. They're still going to lay off the staff. So if you consider,
I'll leave my anti-corporation for
I feel like they're skimming as much fat as possible before they start to see some kind of negative decrease, so they maximize their profit.
Exactly.
So how many people can we fire before this gets
basically? That's all it comes down to. It comes down to my whole anti-corporation thing, but we're not going to get into it.
People that are left end up having more load bearing onto them.
Exactly.
And I look at it as,
and then they leave and they're like, "I'm going to Kickstarter my own project."
But that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I look at it as, if that does happen in these companies, I can't say much about it because it's a business, and I would do the very same thing if I was a business. It is a business, and it's not just let's just keep the same people hired.
But with
they
things
gotta
like
make headroom.
with things like Kickstarter, once you start laying off people and they start making their own products to actually make money, all of a sudden now you're looking a little bit closer around who you're keeping and who you're firing.
I was just gonna say that.
That's a shit story. Like that guy you fired 2 years later.
Exactly.
All of a sudden made the next Mario.
Your competitor.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was just gonna say that. Because of how Kickstarter is going now, because of how well it's going for a lot of people, I feel that we could get to a possibility where what Kickstarter is doing, I feel that it's very likely that you could see some publishers, I don't want to say go under, but you could see some publishers now having to compete with Kickstarter. Any publisher wanting to now compete with their old team is going to need to do things better. Now, it doesn't mean throwing more money in there, because by a perfect example, they could say, hey, look, the team that used to be us is going over here and they kickstarted this game and they made massive profit. Why should we work with you? I believe the biggest, scariest thing for some of these publishers might be is if your team gets really buddy together, what happens when they decide to say, peace, we're leaving because we know we can Kickstarter our own.
Yeah, exactly.
This, I believe, is going to scare many publishers because now it's going to force these publishers to be more friendly in terms
exactly.
of
What all comes down to is power in the individual employee.
Yes.
Which is things that, like, you know, the reason why you get a lot of these stories like, oh yeah, this company's laying off this many people is because they can. They don't have to keep these. They didn't have to keep these people.
I think that this makes it very much more. It puts things in perspective in the sense that, like, you should very much so respect the person who's making your product what it is. Yeah, and like what it comes down to is that people make games, not companies.
Exactly.
Yes, that's like, well, we said that a lot of this podcast, not directly, but we clearly been making
it is the major theme. It's very recurring theme.
So basically, so Kickstarter, fucking thank you.
Yes,
because you were probably almost single-handedly saving video games and their companies.
I don't think video games need saving. But I definitely agree that they're saving the way the industry is basically helping itself. An industry needs to be healthy, and an industry needs to essentially be bringing new talent.
Fair enough.
To say, we can
you worded it better.
Kickstarter is essentially making it more feasible to be self-sufficient.
Yes. Hey, you can't scare people out of development.
And exactly.
You have to feel.
I mean. In a market where it's just getting more and more expensive to actually make games, it's Kickstarter that's actually allowing people to still, like, the little guy who has their idea to actually make something for themselves.
It's not even expensive. What Akash was pointing out before, it's not all these companies, like juggernaut companies, want to compete with Call of Duty, and I feel that something like Kickstarter, I swear to you, is going to make some of these companies stop that approach of trying to attack.
Yeah, that's actually what I was actually going to say to you before I fucking forgot, I guess. What I was saying to you is that, like, you know things got bad when you have somebody like me who loves playing shooters, and I don't fucking play any shooters right now.
Yeah,
there's not.
That's what I'm saying. Because like we were saying, like everyone wanted this generation. Everyone wanted that Call of Duty approach. Everyone needed that multiplayer element, and it just got dry. Yeah, it got boring.
I don't even think it's the fact that they wanted the multiplayer element. Don't get me wrong. No. I understand. I know where you're going with this. But I understand. When it comes down to a game like BioShock 2 having a multiplayer element, like, what the fuck?
It comes down to a game like God of War having a multiplayer element.
Exactly. So I'm not referring to that. But like multiplayer was and always going to be big. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just the way it was.
I mean, yeah, because certain games need it and certain games shouldn't.
There was this idea floating around that you had to put a multiplayer mode to succeed. But my point is that people wanted to compete with games like Call of Duty by copying Call of Duty when Call of Duty didn't copy anyone else to become what it is today. And that's all it is.
Very, very true.
Mm-hmm. So when you have these Kickstarter projects that can, they can use to fund these creative individual products.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about that is if you have all these teams now getting together to create something really different, and they're getting funded to create something different, you're now showing the industry that you can't just copy to be something good. You have to do something really well.
Right.
And that big third-party companies can't bully the smaller dudes
and
make the type of gaming.
There's very few
putting the skill gap back in the game.
I'm just saying right now, there's very few games that aren't indie that, like, I really like. Besides, like, obviously, like the GTA 5s and like the BioShock Infinites and the Last of Us. There are always going to be those big budget games that I'm going to want. But I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of games right now, like Shadowrun, like Rogue Legacy. Like, there's so many, like, low budget games that I just really want to play.
It's not even just that. It's that we've yet to see that. Mm-hmm. Star Citizen is a very perfect example of hell yes, it can be done by a Kickstarter team. So I want to wait till we get our Last of Us for Kickstarter, our Heavy Rain type game for Kickstarter. If you consider all,
we're going to get it though.
We're going to get a game like that. If you consider all of Telltale's games, all of the games that they release, like The Walking Dead, all their point and click type games, we're going to get some game Kickstarted that is like narrative.
That's just
like
amazing.
That.
That's gonna
until we get
once a Kickstarter game gets Game of the Year, yo, watch.
It's gonna.
That's going to happen. And if you consider that Telltale's Walking Dead and Journey both got Game of the Year last year, that's a really big deal to show that these small games mean matter to a lot of people. It's not small games or big games anymore. It's not just games in general. And I think that's going to start hurting publishers in the next decade.
Agreed.
So Kickstarter putting power back to the individual.
Very much.
Amen.
So.
Amen. Power to the people, always.
Yeah. Hey, it also only helps us out too.
Can do it.
Exactly.
Better games.
Exactly.
For money.
I don't know. Kickstarter is. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Kickstarter as far as the individual gamer. Exactly. Shadowrun's $20. Rogue Legacy is $15.
Yes.
Oh, I want that game so bad. Anyway, let's not talk about that.
We can talk about Start. We
No.
can talk about Kickstarter all day.
Exactly.
Praise what's going on in the game industry.
But
It is coming into an end.
yes, episode 10. We made it. Double digits. If you've been following us for this long, thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
Well,
we do love you.
I feel it's too early for a tribute episode.
No, I'm not tributing anything. I'm just saying, if you do watch us, I mean, I do enjoy the fact that you guys do watch us. If you don't watch us, well, start. Get on it.
Well, technically, if you're watching us, it'd be hearing that.
Well, I understand that. I understand that, but it still needs to be said.
Thank you.
Tell your friends.
This episode.
Tell your family. Tell your granddad.
Hide
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
But yeah, this has been Akash.
This is Craig.
This and when y'all listen to episode 10.
Into the foxhole. Peace.